right. Are we ready? Yes. Very good. Welcome, everybody. I'm Chris Clark, President and CEO of the Queen Creek Chamber of Commerce. I'd like to thank our sponsors first. We have SRP, Epcor, and Sidewalk Coffee and Bagels for making this all possible. Let's give them a round of applause. This is Coffee and a Mic, and today we're joined by County Supervisor Mark Stewart. Supervisor Stewart, thank you so much for sharing your time with us this morning and for driving out to Queen Creek.
Chris, it's my pleasure, and thanks to everyone for being here. And the coffee, usually I drink my coffee with like flavored creamer. You don't need it with this. It's really good.
Yeah, Sidewalk Cafe, really good local spot. So if you have time, we'll have to head over there sometime.
Might double up on my caffeine, right?
Right?
Yeah, it's good.
Exactly. Well, with all that you're doing, you probably need it. So.
That's true. We have been busy.
Why don't you tell us a little bit about what happened in 25? That was your first full year?
Yeah. So, I spent 8 years in Chandler City Council and got used to working with some really talented individuals and got to the county and, I quickly could recognize that the staff was phenomenal as well. But the chairman really put forth a plan that a lot of what I campaigned on was in his plan for 2025. I mean, from adjusting our zoning ordinance, right, to paying our public safety officers better, doing more hiring for public safety while lowering taxes, but really focusing on infrastructure and economic development. So something new that we did last year was we hired an economic development manager so that we could be a conduit for all the different cities. I know Queen Creek is thriving, and we want to be a part of that as well and be able to bring things together around workforce, et cetera, and development. So it was a crazy year, but it was fun. And I've got to give the chairman credit. He, had 3 years under his belt in a supervisory role, not as a chairman, and he came in and just knocked it out of the park. So I was really, really proud of the work that he did and the rest of my colleagues. So it's been fun. But I think it's important to remember, Maricopa County is debt-free, right? We have a AAA bond rating that we don't use. But if we ever need to, we could. And that's just a financial stewardship that I think I knew in Chandler and I will also carry forward in Maricopa County. Yeah.
And that's something, considering Maricopa County is one of the largest in the country.
Yeah, fourth largest and fastest growing. Yeah. So and that's a big piece of that is Queen Creek, right? It's District 1. So that's great.
Good.
Yeah.
Before we get back to economic development, workforce, and those sorts of things, one of the things that's top of mind, because we sort of have a shot clock on it, is what's happening between the Board of Supervisors and the county recorder. So
what?
There's
what are you talking about?
A lot of stuff out there on X, which we know is a reliable source, so there is a disagreement. And how is that going to affect our elections? What's at the heart of this, and what's happening there?
Yeah, I don't know how much time you have, but that's been an issue that's been going on for quite a long time. I think if you harken back to the Helen Purcell days, phenomenal recorder, basically took our elections into the next era as it relates to technology and some things like that. But you go back to 2024, that board and the former recorder changed the SSA, which is a shared service agreement, which the legislature sets up the elections so that the recorder does one thing and the elections department, the county, does another thing. And they just changed it up tremendously. And, I've been, as a supervisor, saying, why did we do that? You've had a 66% flip of the recorder and the board members. Let's get back to the drawing board and let's do it publicly. Let's show the people how we're coming to our agreements. We've had some struggles with that, right? Coming to an agreement on how things will move forward. We've been offering things. The recorder's been asking for things. I think we have an offer on the table right now with the recorder that I think is very, very reasonable. But here's the deal when you're negotiating, right? He needs to redline it, send it back to us. We put our needs in, send it back to him. But let's get to a table and figure this thing out. And the good news is, and there's not been a lot of good news, is that on Wednesday of next week, there will be a public meeting where the folks will get to see the recorder and the supervisor hash out the details of the shared service agreement. And I think then the public can make up their own minds on themselves. I'm a big fan of public meetings. In Chandler, we didn't do anything behind closed doors. The county's a little different. Everything seems to be done in an executive session. I don't care for that too much, so I'll continue to advocate for more public discourse and things like that. But I am a pragmatic optimist, and I think that we're going to get a deal done. And the courts actually said, get a deal done. So the relationship between the board and Justin is a little bit tumultuous. I have a good relationship with Justin, but I think we'll get there. I feel positive. And that's what that's what we're supposed to do. Like, these fights in courts and all these things that are going on are not supposed to happen. And I think if we would have been in public when I asked for it back in February and March, I think if those public meetings would have happened, this would be in the rearview mirror and we'd be focused. But you asked me how it will affect our elections. The good news is that I don't think it's going to cause any issues for the fall election. Now, I can't be positive of that, so don't play this yet. No, I'm just kidding. But we have some really talented people in our elections department and in the recorder's office. They just need to know what to do. Right? They need us to make a decision, and it's been frustrating for me that we haven't. So I'm going to continue to advocate for common sense solutions that make sense for the voter, not for the board or for the recorder, but for the voter.
So we're sitting here mid-February as we film this. They just moved up the primaries, so we got primary coming July 21. Mm-hmm. So we got 5 months to make sure everybody is ready to go, right?
Yeah, I think the foundation of the elections is fine, right? The functionality of it is fine. It's who's in charge of what. I'll give you an example, right? The recorder would like some influence and some say in where voting locations are, right? You can go vote in person at the library over here or other places around Queen Creek. But I believe that there should be more voting locations in places where you have to travel farther. Right? Because convenience is a big piece of voting. It's not necessarily around population centers as much as it is about how far somebody has to go. So having 2 voting centers in a high populated area, only because of the number of people that might come in, add more stations, but we probably need more locations in Queen Creek and Gilbert and places like that. And we just didn't have that a few years ago. So the recorder wants some say in that, which I appreciate. So that's one of the things that we'll come to an alignment on, and I support a dual or a joint decision making on that, and I think that's good for the county.
And the recorder is responsible for staffing those, or is the board responsible for staffing those additional voting locations?
Well, ultimately, the board is responsible for the budget. So in a way, we're both responsible. We'd like to get the recorder's input because he has all the data. And another thing he wants is his IT staff. Like, I've thought about this at length. In any corporation, I'm a business owner, right? Any corporation, the organization may run the IT, but you have your own staff that runs your department, if that's finance or something like that. So I get why he wants those things back into his purview, so that he can manage data, especially from he doesn't just do elections, right? He's doing record keeping and things like that. So I think we'll be fine. I think it's going to be okay. Yeah.
Okay,
I'm confident.
You're being very cordial too, and I appreciate that, because there are some board members who publicly have not been cordial, and the recorder has not been cordial in his responses. So these are not only legal fights going on, but Twitter fights. I don't know what you call X fights, but
it's real.
And then Wednesday is. They're compelling. The Board of Supervisors is compelling the recorder and other staff members to be, other electeds to be there.
Yeah, and so that's a really good thing you brought up. So we're in a safe place here, right? So since February and March of last year, I've been asking for public meetings, right? And so strategically, this is really good for, I think, the public. I'm an advocate. I don't work for Maricopa County. I work for the voter. I work for you. And I think the people want to see what we're doing. And a lot of things have happened in executive session, which I'm not comfortable with. This is a really great opportunity, I think, for the board to lay out their plan, the recorder to lay out his plan, and for the people to see what we're doing, and where it makes sense for us to maybe retain some things, where it makes sense for the recorder to retain some things. But at the end of the day, I've advocated going back to the 2023 SSA. I think that makes sense. I think the recorder has the tools to be effective in that. And if you think about back in the day, Helen Purcell had everything. The board delegated the entire operation basically to Helen, and she did very well. And so we have 51 departments, and I think that the recorder can be an expert in this space. He's proven through a new signature verification process that he has a good team and is thinking thoughtfully about how to provide the best service to the public. So I'm confident in his abilities. We just have to get to the table and figure this thing out. So that will happen.
Moving into the signature verification phase, so you mentioned convenience by location. Not getting into whether or not we should have them, because that's something the legislature is debating right now, but the early ballots. And so there's always this upset that Maricopa County is one of the last to be counted. But there's a really good reason for why that happens. It has nothing to do with competence. Could you tell us a little bit more about that process?
Yeah, certainly. Again, how much time do you have? So the challenge with early voting is, and hopefully everybody in this room and everybody watching, when you get an early ballot, the mail-in ballots, people tend to hold on to those to the last, but I'll get to it. And then suddenly election day hits and they said, oh my gosh, I got to fill this thing out. And they take it in and they drop it off on day of election. That is what jams up the system, right? So we can't open those envelopes and we can't count those envelopes from the voting station that day until they get picked up at the end of the night and brought to the tabulation center. And so when 500,000 or 400,000 votes show up, literally you have to open the envelope, you have to pull there's physically a person doing that, and we have 100, 150 people doing that, right? And it just takes a very long time. Anyway, long story short is that
signature verification too, right?
And they have to check the signatures and run them through the system. So it bogs down. So get your ballots in before, if you're going to do an early vote, vote early, right? Get them mailed in or get them dropped off at a center. But the reality is that we've tried to lobby the governor to allow us to start, to put a cutoff date of 3 days. I think that the biggest problem that we've got in Maricopa County, and when I get my calls from family in Missouri that say, hey, what's going on in Maricopa County? Why can't you give us the tallies?
I get that from Dallas.
I don't have enough time to tell them what I just told you. So we've got, I think there's a bill tracking through right now that would allow us to have the cutoff date for mail-in drop-offs, mail-ins, 3 days before the election, so that everything is in and we can get those all counted and we don't have to count them night of. So if we can deliver 95% of the results, nearly all the races will be decided, especially the big ones, before midnight that night. And I think that is what the public wants. We just need to get the governor to sign the bill, and I think she will. Yeah, hopefully. We'll see.
Right, we'll see. We got 2,000 something other bills working their way through too. So.
It's crazy down there.
Yeah, they must be stacked up in the hallways. But all right, so getting back a little bit to the infrastructure, the workforce development, economic development. Tell us a little bit more about what the county is doing in those areas, particularly economic development and workforce.
Yeah, I know Arizona is a global player now. Right? We work with GPEC, ACA. We have our economic development managers of every city. And Maricopa County was kind of sitting on the sidelines watching what was going on. I think what we're going to do now is be an active participant, especially in workforce development. We can be a conduit for the municipalities in Maricopa County. And I think that'll be helpful to job creators, right? I think it'll be helpful to lobbying for infrastructure needs that are needed in order to keep growing. We need roads in order to bring businesses. And I think more importantly, and as important, is that economic development director needs to work hand in hand with the secondary colleges and high schools to help them understand what we're seeing as a region on workforce development needs, right? We're starting to see AI classes come together. We're starting to see a change in the way kids are learning, right, to move into this new economy. That's going to be good for Maricopa County and for Queen Creek. And so there's a lot going on there. But we're excited about that addition, and I think it'll be good for us. Yeah.
Yeah, a really important part for what we're doing in Maricopa County Community College District is doing a really good job in those spaces. We do have an AI lab over at CGCC. We have a drone lab, which is amazing. They have a whole setup so you can fly drones, test drones, repair drones, all cutting edge type of things.
And have you seen the new robotics school over at ASU Poly?
Yes, ASU Poly is a whole different thing, yeah.
In 10 years, I don't think we'll recognize Queen Creek. And it will happen faster than what happened in Chandler and Gilbert. I think Queen Creek, because of the airport and because of Poly, will be pumping out these whiz kids that will build the workforce of the future. And I think you're going to see some big companies looking at the East Valley and Mesa and Queen Creek as a place to plant their flag. And that might not just be from regional, but that might be globally. So it's going to be a big deal.
Yeah, we're excited about everything that's headed our way, and glad that we have the county helping with some of that, getting the kids ready for those opportunities.
Yeah.
One other big issue that you have facing you, Maricopa County Sheriff's Office, one of the biggest expenses for the county. You have a leftover from the Arpaio era there in the federal oversight. Tell us a little bit about that, and there's been some changes and you're lobbying for more.
Yeah, that's a big one, and I'm glad you brought it up because, for nearly 15 years, we've been paying about $20 million for federal oversight and a monitor to basically look over everything that we're doing at Maricopa County. This is a first-class public safety department now. The lessons learned from having that monitor overseeing us were learned in about the first 4 to 5 years. But this is that self-perpetuating issue. Good news is that Debbie Lesko, Supervisor Lesko from District 4 on the west side, will be testifying at the Judiciary Committee this morning. And she's going to be advocating on behalf of the taxpayer. Listen, any type of profiling is no good, right? And we haven't had an issue of racial profiling in nearly 2 years, right? And I know that seems like one is too many, but this is a professional force. But the judge keeps changing the goalpost, keeps moving the goalpost. So at first it was about profiling, and then it turned into how quickly we were getting our work done. Now it's turning into he's trying to kind of guide how we staff the sheriff's department, and he's overstepped his constitutional authority in that regard. So we need this to go away. And listen, if you want to still take a look at some of the things with us from time to time, but we can cut the cost of that down to $2 million a year, $1 million a year for this monitor, but $20 million a year. That's cars, that's men and women on the police, that's training to even be better police. That money is important. And, Maricopa County is a very, very conservatively run county. We lower taxes as much as we can. We are tremendously under the expenditure budget or expenditure limit for the state. We could use that money to be better and to provide better services, not going to a federal monitor. Yeah.
Even increasing pay for the
which we did last year, and we'll do that again this year, which brings me to, if you don't mind, I want to do a little plug. We have a jail tax coming up in the upcoming election, and that's a huge initiative for us. It is a consumption tax or a sales tax, so tourists pay it, others pay it, but it really helps us fund those raises. It helps us fund adding men and women to the force, but importantly, it helps us pay our detention officers as well and invest in public safety, which is important to me.
And since Queen Creek started its own police department a few years back, Maricopa County Sheriff's Department patrols the counties, the back areas of the county, the unincorporated areas, the lakes, but primarily then is the jails and and detention areas, right?
Right.
So raising the pay there is going to be significant.
Well, and we want quality individuals there, but how you get quality is from lack of turnover. So you can be, penny wise and dollar foolish if you're not careful about turnover. Right, as a business owner, I get that. It's better to invest and keep that intellectual property in place. And running jails and being a police officer, it literally takes about a year for a new recruit to really become an effective officer on the streets. And when the county is losing great men and women to Queen Creek because our pay scale is so much different, we've invested all this time in training. And then they go to a municipality like Chandler or Gilbert, and we're losing because of that. So we've caught up. We're a parity now with the Queen Creeks and the Chandlers of the world. And so hopefully we'll see less turnover and less overtime too, which is important.
Right, yeah. You mentioned regulatory environment, and you changed zoning codes.
Huge.
Are there other areas that the county has changed regulations?
I'm a big believer that 99.99% of businesses out there in the world do business well. They just need us to get out of the way or be a conduit to help them be better. I am a business owner. I told you this when I was campaigning, federal oversight or federal regulations, state regulations, county regulations, city regulations, HOA, if you will, regulations. It's one after another. And for a small business owner, that is stifling. So much work is done on the back end on how to do business with the government instead of doing business with our customer. So, and I give the chairman credit on this one. He drove home a new planning and zoning initiative that we delivered, which removed some regulations, made it easier to do business. But one of my big things is bringing AI to government, right? To let our staff work on the public-facing initiatives and using AI for things like simple permitting. So you put your permit in, AI checks all the boxes based on what the planning and zoning code is, and then sends it back to you in real time. So you could be at your desk at 11 o'clock at night, which many small business owners are, send your permit in, AI checks it through, sends it back and says you need to dot this I and cross this T. You don't have to wait till the morning for somebody to look at it that's a person. That frees that person up and staff to do more important things. But furthermore, it speeds up the process. So we got a lot of feedback from business owners. We had a huge committee that gave us suggestions. We implemented many of those suggestions, and I think it's going to be phenomenal for the county. It's going to be much easier to do business with us. And that's my belief, and that's kind of what I try to speak about every day as I call our residents customers. And I'm starting to hear that in the elevators. I'm starting to hear that from other supervisors, and it's something that I did in Chandler. We're here to provide a service to the community. You put your tax dollars into a bucket, and we're supposed to do the things that we're statutorily required to do. And if we do that well and we change the way we look at things and we look at folks like customers, I think it changes the way you go to market.
We appreciate that.
Yeah.
Particularly anything you're doing to speed up the permitting process.
Thanks.
So that's going to be awesome, particularly using the AI for the overnight type of stuff. That would be tremendous.
Yeah, think about it. In real time, like you can get your answers back, and you don't have to go back to the back of the line and wait for somebody to look at it because everybody's queued up in front of you.
Didn't load something properly.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
So I'll be driving a lot of AI conversation. The current chairman, Kate Brophy-McGee, has allowed me to take that on as sort of a subcommittee within the county. And so I'll be driving a lot of technology and AI discussions, and hopefully we'll bring some things forward that make it easier to do business.
Very good.
Yeah.
So with that, what else do you see in the future?
Well, I think I just stole my thunder with talking about AI. I think that's a big piece of it. I think putting to bed the SSA with the recorder and then putting that in the rearview mirror will be something that we'll be working on for the next couple weeks. We have an offer on the table to him right now. He needs to redline it and send us back. But for me, as you know, we had a teen mental health summit. Teen mental health, teen violence is something that's very prevalent in the Southeast Valley and some of the other more suburban areas of the county. And we want to be that conduit, sort of like workforce development, of bringing nonprofits, bringing educators, bringing law enforcement, bringing elected officials and leaders within the community together to not just listen to each other, but to create synergy, right? To create collision spaces where they can find out how to help one another, but most importantly, help our kids, because it's a, I don't want to use the word pandemic, but it is bad. And we need to get in front of it. I think the best thing that happened in the summit last year, and we're going to have another one this year, was when we had a panel of kids, right? It's one thing to listen to a bunch of adults tell you what they think is going on with kids, but it's another thing to let them speak about it themselves. And it was the most valuable session of that mental health summit that we had, is to listen to the kids say what was going on in their world, right? And what do they want us to do to help them, right? And believe it or not, many of them are okay with getting cell phones out of the classrooms, getting that mental reprieve and that mental break from that competition that goes on through Instagram and that pressure that they feel. So I hope that the school districts, I hope that the private schools, I hope that everybody kind of gets behind that initiative. Heck, we all need that, right? We need to put our phones away from time to time and get back to basics. So that's the thing. But you know, as far as business goes, economic development will still be a huge piece of what we do in Maricopa County, but that doesn't mean us doing it. That means getting out of the way and being helpful for you to do business, for your members to do business. That's what I think our role as a government should be, as a conduit for success, and listening, right? I'm going to be on a lot of listening tours. That's why sitting here talking to you is great, but I love visiting with your members to find out what they're struggling with so that I can take that back and fix it.
We have in the audience, we have a Reconnect Queen Creek Day, where we encourage you to have a meal or go out with an activity of some kind with friends, neighbors, family, and just put your cell phones away for a little while and connect face to face. So we appreciate you saying that and your thoughts on that.
Yeah.
I think that is most of our time. So we appreciate you being here today. Do we have questions from the audience?
Yes, this is my favorite part.
I don't know. I think
we covered it all.
I think you covered all of the hot topics, and so we appreciate you taking that on.
No, I appreciate it. Does anybody do much business with the county? I know, Mayor Wheatley, you do. Has it been better to work with the county recently, or are there some things that may we talk offline? If things you have some hiccup. I know we talked a lot about infrastructure, right, and roads. Like, you know, you guys live in the biggest cul-de-sac, I think, in the world, and we need to fix that. And I know that we've been working with the governor's office, with the legislature, with Mesa, anybody that we can to help them understand the plight of moving people to work, moving people to school, and those kind of things. So
I think
it's not lost on me.
The railroad, if you have connections with the railroad.
Oh, this intersection back over here?
At Germain
yeah.
and Sossaman.
Yeah.
We have plans to widen Germain, make it a road of regional significance, but we just have to get the railroad to agree.
And Mayor Wheatley spoke with me about that last year, and I've met with Mayor Freeman on that. And so if I can be of assistance bringing those minds together again and then finding the dollars to make that happen, we will certainly be a part of that as well. It's an important piece of...
absolutely.
It's one of the biggest issues I know in Queen Creek.
Well, with Intel and Chandler being one of the biggest employers in Queen Creek, that east to west is really vital for us.
100%.
But again, thank you so much for your time.
Of course.
We appreciate you being here.
There was one question in the back, but I don't know if we're out of time,
Mark,
Chris.
I just want Joe Grossman, the Theft Board Director of Government Relations for the U.S. We've had great working relationship with the county all through, even your zoning staff, your regulatory bodies as it relates to Rio Verde foothills or really any issue. So I just wanted to relay that your team is doing a great job. And we certainly appreciate it from a business, how friendly Maricopa County is to work with. And just the lightning speed at times that you guys operate in comparison to other counties.
Well, that's great to hear, and those are the questions that I really loved to take. I'm just kidding. No, I appreciate that, and you know, the great thing about that is staff will appreciate hearing that if they watch this, because they do care. I've noticed that there's a culture of care in our staff, and so thank you for that.
Wonderful. Well, thank you again to Supervisor Stewart for your time, SRP, EPCOR, and Sidewalk Cafe for making this all possible.
Thanks for having me, Chris. Appreciate it.